I've never loved the Tales of games. I've played a handful of the games in the franchise, and I always thought they were fine. But Tales of Arise is different. I love Tales of Arise. No, you don't understand. I love Tales of Arise. Let's see why. I'm Adam Scott, and this is Tales of Arise. Bandai Namco's Tales of franchise spans nearly 30 years, and after the longest gap ever between two entries, the team behind Tales of Arise promised something special, a reinvention for the series. I have to admit my expectations going in were middle of the road. I knew I'd play this game eventually, but I wasn't in any rush, clearly. I'd played Zestiria, Vesperia, and Berseria previously and thought they were just okay. Don't get me wrong, I didn't hate them. I actually had a pretty good time, but was never captivated like with other RPG franchises. However, Tales of Arise got its hooks in me. After consuming absolutely everything in the game and completing it 100%, I don't think they exaggerated in saying that there was something special with this entry. It's become the fastest selling Tales of game at over 2 million copies to date, pushing into the mainstream unlike ever before. But Tales of Arise isn't all that different from past titles, right? I mean, most of the series' DNA is present in Arise. A diverse cast, a big and colorful world to explore, a familiar action combat system, and a high-stakes yet personal story wrapping the whole experience. Even with some staples, like the character accessories and skits are back. So why did this entry grab hold of so many, including me? Well, let's start from the beginning. The story centers around Alphen, a slave with a mysterious past who can't feel pain, and Xion, a member of the slaver race who can't be touched without causing pain to others. For centuries, the people of the nearby planet Rena have persecuted Alphen's people, the Danans. Both adults and children are enslaved to gather resources in astral energy for their technologically advanced masters, the Renan Lords. Xion holds a power that she can't wield, a flaming sword that burns its wielder, powerful enough to topple the Lords, and only Alphen can hold it. They need each other, and with their opposite cultures, they need to build trust, learn to accept each other, and eventually become friends. To that end, Alphen, Xion, and a ragtag rebel group they form along the way must travel to each of the world's 5 regions to topple the Renan Lords. Each of the other party members adds something meaningful to the story. There's Rinwell, a lovable mage with a secret past and a pet owl. Then there's Law, rash and impulsive with daddy issues. Kisara, a Danan Guardian soldier trying to stand on her own. And Dohalim, a Renan who, to say much more, would lean into spoilers. There aren't just worldwide stakes, but interpersonal ones as well. Everyone has their damages, and they must learn how to cope and deal with them. Without spoiling anything, the story touches on the horrors of war and slavery, the long-lasting effects of colonization on indigenous peoples, the realization of one's own privilege and how it impacts others, one's purpose in a damaged world, and what they can do to help, and frankly quite a bit more. But that's not to say everything is dark and dismal. There are plenty of moments that made me laugh out loud or smile because of how charming and well-rounded and flawed the characters can be. You'll easily care about this world and the characters in it by the end. One of the most obvious upgrades is in the visuals and overall presentation. I mean, just look at this. Put Tales of Arise next to any of the previous entries in the series, and the difference is night and day. The series has always been vibrant and colorful, but clearly not in AAA territory. However, the transition to Unreal Engine is a game changer with some of the most gorgeous anime visuals I've ever seen. Much like another Bandai Namco triumph, Scarlet Nexus, Arise uses a sort of soft focus cell shading to make it look like an anime come to life. The painted, almost watercolor look really sets Arise apart from not just previous entries, but any of its anime contemporaries. Superbly animated characters, wonderfully crafted settings, some killer vistas, and knock your socks off versions of the familiar arts all make it a contender for one of the most aesthetically pleasing games I've ever played. While there are some minor technical issues like texture pop-in and some slowdown when things get really wild, it doesn't pull you out of the overall experience. Not to be outdone by the graphics, series composer Motoi Sakuraba is firing on all cylinders with one of the best soundtracks in years. He's been the composer behind all of the mainline Tales games, but also the Star Ocean series, Valkyrie Profile, and the Dark Souls games. The music throughout is stirring and does a great job of capturing just the right emotion to enhance the mood of every scene. Adding to that is the incredible voice acting. Across the board, the performances for both main and supporting characters are fantastic. Some villains' voices are a bit unhinged and often a little ridiculous, but I thought that added a fun layer of cheese. You might recognize a lot of the voices are from other RPG series, like Patrick Seitz, who voices Doji in the Ys games and Ulberich in Octopath Traveler, or Erika Lindbeck, who plays Futaba in Persona 5, and Jessie in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and quite a few more. In short, the story's in good hands with this talented and respected group of voice actors. The skits have made a triumphant return, enhanced and reworked. Instead of the still anime faces yammering on during long adventuring, Arise replaces these with a kind of half-animated, half-visual novel style. Once again, it reminds me of the comic book style used in Scarlet Nexus. They're also quite a bit better written than they've been in the past, more punchy and relevant, revealing lore and character rather than just bantering about nothing like they often used to be. Throughout each story arc, you'll explore one of Dana's regions, each with a distinct feel. Traveling from city to city, liberating the realms one tyrant lord at a time is really satisfying. Before building your way up to each epic battle, you'll immerse yourself in the environment, learning about its people and culture, lending context to that fateful confrontation. It's a testament to how interwoven the story in each environment is with how emotionally invested I became. Taking down each lord feels so sweet. The sheer act of wandering through each of Dana's gorgeous environments is a considerable step up from the past several Tales games. Areas are large, but not too large, and make great use of verticality, caves, and bodies of water. Even when you're not actively fighting, everything you do has a purpose and feeds back into your progression. There's a crafting system for making better weapons, with materials found from ore around the map, and from items dropped by enemies. A cooking system that gives various bonuses from attack to defense, and even buffs for finding better materials. Little owls scattered about that give you costume customization pieces, which in itself doesn't give you any sort of combat bonuses, although I do love my customization, but collecting enough will unlock other useful things for combat. A fishing minigame where you build up to bigger and better fish with rewards along the way. And even the ability to raise animals in your ranch for cooking ingredients. And that's not even mentioning walking off the beaten path to find items and rare monsters that drop even better loot. I never once felt like anything I did was wasting my time. The world is perfectly well crafted, engaging, beautiful, and easy to get lost in. Other open world games should take note. I'm looking at you, Ubisoft. One area where the game really shines is in how much better the combat feels than in previous Tales games. While the familiar circular arena makes a return, the actual movement and attacks feel more fluid and powerful than ever. It's a blend of the traditional Tales combat and a character action game like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta. You have a basic attack, a dodge, a jump, and arts. Arts are more powerful attacks that expend the finite arts gauge, which replenishes when you're not attacking. At the start, you can equip 6 arts, but that will expand to 12 eventually. Arise continues to use the free camera that debuted in Berseria, which makes the use of arts or special moves much easier to aim in the midst of a fight. Of course, there's more to combat than dodging and spamming arts. After doling out enough punishment, you can activate a boost strike. This is often the key to victory against specific enemies, such as breaking their armor with the Brawler Law, or slowing their movements with the magic user Dohalim. Finally, using arts, perfect dodging, and taking damage will build a meter that puts your character into an overdrive state that gives you costless use of arts and access to a kind of finishing move called a Mystic Art. Each of the 6 party members have a distinct combination of arts, skills, and titles, like Alvin's ability to follow up regular arts with self-damaging but powerful blazing sword arts, or Rinwell's ability to charge and store spells. You can play and switch between any of the characters on the fly, with 3 other party members fighting by your side. The 2 remaining characters not actively on the battlefield will provide support. You can customize the AI teammates' combat behavior with simple if-then statements that reminds me a lot of the Gambit system from Final Fantasy XII. The preset strategies are fine for most fights, but bosses and enemies from quests may require more thoughtful setups, especially on higher difficulties. In the early hours of the game, Alphen's variety of arts and ease of use make him an obvious go-to. Fortunately, the other characters really come into their own as you unlock more arts, the ability to use a second set of arts, and helpful passive abilities. There's something deeply satisfying about standing your ground as Kisara and wreaking vengeance on your enemies for daring to attack you, or taking on the versatility of Shion or Dohalim. Both have healing and combat magic capabilities alongside their more direct combat arts. I've already talked about how great this game looks, but come on, this combat is freaking sweet. It's pure eye candy. With all of these effects and flourishes, at first I was worried that things would get lost in the chaos of it all, but it remains so readable that I never once lost track of what I was doing or where my character was. Eventually, an arena becomes available for tackling solo and group challenges, which is helpful for understanding the flow of combat even better. After grasping the new combat system, the ultimate test of skill comes in the form of big monsters that you can find in the open world and boss battles. Usually coming at the end of each area, bosses typically have a wider combat arena than normal and area of effect skills that can take out your whole party if you're not careful. Every boss fight feels like a culmination of the area it takes place in, from making good use of the new abilities you learned there to expanding how the enemies you fought there use their attacks. I've covered a lot about this game and there's still so much left unsaid. Bandai Namco absolutely reinvigorated this 30-year-old series in ways both big and small. What I think is so fantastic about their approach is it still feels like a Tales game. They didn't completely scrap everything that made the series unique and slap the Tales title on it, nor did they just wash the tiring formula with a new coat of paint. Instead, they meticulously looked at every single element and refined it, sanded the rough edges, and polished the already bright spots. What we're left with isn't a perfect game, there's no such thing, but it's a perfect Tales of game. From the incredible story and characters, to the beautifully realized world, to the consistently engaging combat and all of the fun I had throughout the 70 hours, I can without any hesitation say that not only do I love Tales of Arise, but I found a new love for the whole Tales of series. Alright, well you've heard my take on Tales of Arise, and I'd love to hear yours as well. Also, what's your favorite Tales of game? Let's talk about it in the comments down below. Now, if you want another amazing RPG by Bandai Namco, check out my review of Scarlet Nexus. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.